It's a beautiful morning this morning. I'm not far from home, keeping it local still. It's half term, so there's people everywhere, so I thought I'd stick to my local patch. Through this video I'm going to go from the capture of the image right through the process stage up to the finished image, which I'll show you at the end, hopefully, if I don't overcook the pictures. But yeah, so I'm heading down to a location that I've scouted out a few times now. So I'm using Ilford's black and white film, and I'm hoping to get some nice simple shots full of texture with all this new growth here in the fields, and obviously the mist in the valleys as well. So I'm shooting with my Bronica SQA this morning. It's a square format camera. Got a nice composition here, which I'll show you now. As you can see, it's nice and simple. Some nice lead-in lines going through the field here. I've almost got these three different sections of field. Got this this crop here, the grass in the next field, and then this earth, which is now being ploughed this morning while I'm stood here. And the mist in the distance. Not a lot going on in the sky, so I've brought the camera angle right down, so I've focused more on the field itself and the lead-in line, and I'll just keep a small slither of sky at the top. As I said, I'm shooting black and white, which is the whole point of this video. So I'm going to use a very weak grad over the sky. Film's fairly tolerant with exposure, but I like to, especially shooting black and white, I like to graduate the sky down a bit, keep the any detail there, but also darken it down as well. It saves me darkening it down more in the processing stage. So I'm using a 50mm lens, so it's giving me a nice wide perspective. Just waiting for the light, which is coming up over my shoulder. It's starting to light up the bottom of the field now, so it won't be long before I want it to hit the trees in the middle distance there, and then I'm ready to go. I've taken my meter reading. I'm shooting at f/22 because I've got the foreground quite close to me, and obviously it's quite a nice full scene that I need to keep in focus. It's giving me a 1/15 of a second base exposure. I'm using Ilford HP5, which is a 400 speed film. So yeah, simple grad on the sky. I've got a 2-stop grad, and the light's just coming up. So let's try this. Well, that's composition number 1 done. There's a couple of different compositions here. I've got one up behind me here with the church in the background, and another set of tracks going up through the field. So I'm going to shoot a few of those, and then I'm going to get back and process these images. Right, okay, that's the image capture done. So I've gone from composition, finding the image, setting the shot up, getting all my exposure details in, taking the shot. So I've got a few compositions to work with. I took 2 rolls of film, did a roll of HP5 400 and also a roll of Ilford Delta 100. So the next stage is to go back and get these films processed, and I'll take you through that stage. Okay, so I've been out, I've shot the scene that I wanted. I've come back, I've got 2 films to process. So I'll take you through the developing stage next. In front of me I've got the equipment that you need to process films. It's a very basic kit, but I'll just talk through what I've got here. First and foremost is the changing bag. Now, there is a misconception that you need a darkroom to process film, which isn't right. All you need is a changing bag, or the means to change the film or to load the film into the development tank in the dark. So that's the only bit that needs to be done in the dark. So the changing bag basically looks like a t-shirt. 2 holes at the top where you put your arms in, and then you've got a double seal here on the front edge. So you put all your tank, films and all the rest of it in the bag, and then you can change the film, unload the film, put it onto the spiral, into the development tank. Once that's done and it's sealed up, you're then ready to do everything else in daylight. I've also got a selection of measuring jugs. I normally use 3 different ones. You're normally working with 500 mils of water for each film. So I've got 2 600 ones. I've got another smaller one, which I think is a 300, and a tiny one, which is a little 150. And I use that one for measuring out the chemicals. And then these 2 main ones for my processing. I've then got the developing tank, Patterson equipment. I'll go through this in more detail in a bit. And there's an extra spiral for the film there with that tank. What else have we got here? We've got at the back here storage bottles, just plastic storage bottles. I sometimes store the fix. If I'm doing a lot of films at the same time, I'll store fix in there, and sometimes a stop bath as well to save me sort of wasting chemicals. That brings me on to the chemicals. This is a basic chemical kit. It's all Ilford chemicals. So I've got a developer, which is the Ilfosol 3. I've got a stop bath, Ilfostop. I've then got a fixer, which is the Ilford Rapid Fixer. And then I also use Ilfotol, which is a wetting agent, which again I'll go into more detail later on. So that's my chemicals. Apart from that, a pair of squeegee tongs for when your film comes out of the developing tank, and you get rid of any excess water with those. And most importantly, a thermometer, just a basic thermometer to get your water temperature right when you're developing. And last but not least, some clove pegs. Now these I use to hang the film up when it's drying. I normally hang the film up by its end, at one end at the top, and then another one at the bottom of the film, and then that basically weights the film and stops it curling up as it's drying. So we'll go on next to loading the film. I've got an exposed roll of, any of you eagle-eyed viewers there will notice this is a colour film. But this is purely just for a demonstration on how to load the film into the tank. This is an exposed roll, so I'll go through this next. Okay, so I'm going to load one film today to show you how to do this. There's my 2 films there. So I've got my changing bag, developing tank. So in the bag you need the developing tank, a pair of scissors, which I'll explain in a minute, and obviously your film, and some gloves. Now first and foremost, gloves. It's quite important. I tend to wear latex gloves when I'm doing this. The reason for that is when your arms and hands are in this bag, especially if you're doing a couple of films, you start to get sweaty, hand sweat. Now the sweat then transfers onto the film becomes sticky, and it's very difficult to do this in the dark. It's bad enough in the light. So if your hands are sticky, it just makes things a lot harder. So by wearing these gloves, it keeps any sweat away, keeps the contact away from the film, makes it a lot easier. And with latex gloves, I find because they're so thin, you can still feel what you're doing. So that's the reason I do that. Scissors. As the film comes off the roll, which I'll show you in a bit, you need to cut it off the film leader. So those need to go in the bag as well. And the developing tank, which I shall show you the parts. This is the main tank. You've got the spiral, which the film is loaded onto. You've also got this bit here, which is a little spindle that goes in the centre of the tank. That has to be put into there in the dark. That then goes in with your film loaded into the tank. You've then got the lid, which has got like a little output there. This goes in, clips in like that, so it's nice and tight. You've then got this little, well, what would you call it, little spiral peg thing that goes in the middle. So when your chemicals are inside the tank, you can twist this around and agitate. It agitates the chemicals around the film. This is a spare spiral, which I'll show you how to load the film in a minute. So that's basically what goes in the tank, and obviously your film. And then when you come out the other side, once the film's locked in there, it's then light tight, and you can do everything else in daylight. Okay, so the next stage is to load the film onto the spiral and put it into the developing tank. I'm using 120 roll film, as you can see. This one's set for 120, but you can also use these for 35mm film. Just close it up, click it together, and then you can see the difference there. You can load up 35mm film on this one. So I'll put that one to one side. So first things first, your roll of film will come out saying exposed. You basically unravel this, take the tape off, just get rid of that. Now, what you get is the leader. This is the film leader. Now this is being done in the dark, so you've got to be very good practice to do this in daylight with an exposed roll of film, a duff roll of film, just to get used to how this works. Now, some people like to unravel the whole film inside the changing bag. I tend to just get the film leader and actually keep it on the reel as I'm going. So you can see there's the film there. So it's only a short leader, and I can tear that off for a minute. Just bring it out a little bit more, fold this back. Now at this stage, again in the dark, with my scissors, I nick off just the corners of the leader of the film. Get rid of those. And this makes it easier to load onto the tank, or onto the spiral I should say. So keep the leader out of the way. Now on these spirals, you can see there's two notches here, and there's two little ball bearings. So the film leader has to go around underneath the ball bearings, which kind of grip the film, and then you can load. So what I do, take the leader, again with gloves on, just feed it into there, so it goes underneath the ball bearings. Just drag it around a little bit more. You're still on the reel there. You can let the reel go. Hold this part with one hand, keep it still, and then the other part you just twist around like this. Now what's happening, the film is going around this spiral, so by keeping it on the reel I just find it just makes it a lot easier. You haven't got film flapping around inside the bag. So just keep that going. Just pull it out a little bit more. And then we come to the end here, so you've got your leader paper still. This is left over, so we can tear that off, get rid of that, and we then got the spool on the end. Now at this stage, this is the end of the roll. I'll just cut it just past the end of the leader strip. Another couple of turns, and there we go. Just make sure it's all, and it's not creased. So the film's around this spiral and it's got plenty of air and gaps inside for the chemicals to go around. So most important thing now is to put this in there. That then goes in the tank. Put the lid on. Click. And then you can leave that little twirly stick. Now, film's loaded, so we're basically light tight now, so we can bring this out of the bag, and then the rest of it we can do in daylight. Okay, so I'm ready to load my film. So, changing bag, unzip this. This gives you the access to the main compartment of the bag. Put my developing tank, the main body of it, on that side. The lid. And this piece here, which goes through the centre of the spiral. That's on one side of the bag. Now on the other side of the bag is my spiral, my scissors, and my film, which I'll put right at where the hands go in. You then zip the bag up, and then you fold this flap, which has got Velcro strips on there, and that's now light tight. So I then put my arms in the bag and I'm ready to load my film up. Now this is the app that I use for film developing. It's called Massive Dev. So if I just click on the app there. Now if I go into the chart, it gives you a whole list of films to choose from. You can basically choose the film that you're using. Let's have a look. Let's just choose something here. Fomapan 100. Now it gives you the different developers. So you choose a developer, and then it gives you a speed, and then it gives you the actual process of processing the film. Now in my times, I've got my main films that I use set up here. So if I choose, which I'm processing now, HP5, 120 roll film ISO 400. So it then gives me my, if I go into the developer, I'm using 500ml of fluid in total with 33.3 millilitres of the developer. And then I've also got my notes section here, which I've put the stop bath is 8 mils plus making it up to 500ml, and the fixer is 100ml, but obviously 400ml of water. It then gives you your development times, stop bath times, fixing times, hypo clear, which I'll go into later, and then a final wash. Now when you start the process, it gives you a timer. So this is the development stage, and you can see here it's giving me a little development tank symbol. So you agitate the tank by turning it around, and I use that little spindle as well to whoosh it back and forward so the chemicals are getting all over the film. So I've got my film loaded up in the tank, it's nice and secure and it's light tight, so the rest of this process I can now do in daylight. I've moved to the utility room now. So this is the part where you need to be near a sink, so you can do it in the kitchen, utility room, bathroom, wherever you've got access to the tap. Now I find obviously with the development of this film, it's got to be at 20, the water's got to be at 20 degrees centigrade. So it's good if you've got the mixer taps where you can mix the hot and cold water together to get the temperature right. Using my little thermometer, I then run the tap, get it to the right temperature with the thermometer under the running water. I'll then fill up, I've got a couple of beakers, I've got a little measuring jug, and I've also got a flask which I'm using at the moment, but you can use anything really. Once you get the water to temperature, fill up a couple of vessels so you've got your water ready. So at this stage I tend to mix up the developer, the stop bath and the fixer and have it all lined up ready to go. So I'll go through that process now. So I'm now getting my water to temperature, got the hot and cold running, and you can adjust this then, bring the hot down slightly, get it to the right temperature. There we go. So I'm now ready to mix my chemicals. So first one is developer, 33.3 mils of developer. I then pour that into one of my bigger storage jars. I then top that up to 500ml of water. That's my developer. So put that to one side, and now I go through and mix up the stop bath and the fixer in the same way, so I've got each one ready to go. Okay, so I've got my developer mixed up and I've got my stop bath mixed up. During the development stage, which is about 11 minutes for this particular film, I'll then use that beaker or another beaker to mix up the fixer. So that'll be ready to go when I get to that process. So, got my developing tank, got my Massive Dev timer set up. So all I do is I pour this in and then start the development time. So pour it in nice and evenly. Once it's completely in the tank, I can start the development. So start that, and you can hear that's. So I've basically got to agitate the tank now, just swirl it around. And what I do is I use that little spindle thing, and I can basically agitate the tank and swirl it around at the same time. so the chemicals are going all over the film. Now this agitation during this 11 minutes, it's normally a minute of agitation, and then you let it settle. So keep twisting it around. You don't have to tip the tank up too much. Doing this and swirling it at the same time gives the chemicals a chance to go all around that film. Basically tap the tank a couple of times. That gets rid of any air bubbles on the film then. So I'll carry on with this process now, and then I'll come back to you when I get to the next stage, which is the stop bath. So I'm coming up to the last minute now of the development stage. After that first minute of that stage, you basically agitate the film for about 10 seconds every minute. So we're just coming up now with the 15 seconds left. Just give it a quick swirl around now. I've already got my fixer set up as well now, as well as my stop bath. So there we go, it's just coming up to the last bit now. Getting the alarm there. So I can now pour this developer out. Give it a quick shake, make sure that's all gone. I'm now ready for my stop bath. Same process, pour the stop bath in, 500 mils, and it's 8 mil of stop bath for this particular film. So pour that in. And once that's in, start my timer again. Now this is only a minute for this stop bath in total, so you agitate the tank for the whole minute basically. So this actually stops development. So from this stage on, you can kind of relax a bit then. You know that it's hopefully developed. There we go. So pull that away. So, and now we're ready for the final stage, which is the fixer. Again, pour that in. It needs to be fixed for 5 minutes on this particular film. So there we go, start the timer again. Agitate for the first minute. And then again every 10 seconds each minute during that 5 minute of fixing. So I'll come back in a minute for the next stage, which is the hypo clear. So we're now coming up to the final stage of the fixing, and the next stage is, I've already got the water here for the hypo clear. So I'm going to just add a little dash of this in, not very much, just to bring it up to 500 ml. There we go. Just mix that in a bit. Hypo clear, or wetting agent, a little bit like fairy liquid. It kind of just gets rid of any dirt and muck on the film, any sort of residue chemicals. There we go. That's the end of the fixing stage. So I can pull that away. You can relax a bit now because the film's actually developed and fixed. So now these last 2 stages are just basically to wash the film. So this is the hypo clear, or wetting agent. Pour that in. And then agitate this. Start the timer again. 2 minutes for this. So we'll do this, and then we'll come back to the final wash then. Okay, that's the end of the hypo clear. So I can now tip that out. Like I say, that just cleans any muck off the film. Give that a good shake. And now we're ready for the final wash. I'm developing a couple of films, so while I've been doing the process stage, between each chemical that I'm using, I'm washing out the jugs that I'm using in between, so they're all nice and clean for the next film. So first of all, washing stage. It suggests 10 minutes for washing. I normally give it about 5. And the first, just a beaker of clean water, which is like 500 ml. Give that a quick stir around. You can see the water's foamy, and that's from the hypo clear. That's nothing to worry about. So give that a good rinse around, empty that out. And then what I do then is I leave the tap running Wait for that to fill up. I can start my timer again. Let's say it suggests 10 minutes, but I'm going to give it about 5 or 6 minutes is normally fine. And you can see the bubbles are starting to come out now. Now that's rinsing. So I'll just leave that rinsing and come back to reveal the film. So this is the bit where I get excited and a bit nervous at the same time. So I'll take the lid out, take the spool out. So here we go. So I'm wearing my latex gloves now, so just peel it off the roll and I can see pictures, which is a good thing. So let's give it a quick shake, just hold the film by the end of the leader where there's no film, and there we go. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got some pictures on there. Quick sort of scan across, looking to see what we've got there. Every frame, got 12 frames there, they've all come out. So yes, one processed film. Before I hang this up to dry, I need to just squeegee the excess water off. So I've got my squeegee tongs here, made sure I've cleaned them off first, make sure there's no grit or dirt or anything in there. Just hold the film by the top there. And just quickly do that, shake it off. You don't need to go too mad, just get the excess water off and that's ready to hang then. So I've switched from latex gloves to white cotton gloves now for this part. So I've got my film, as you can see. So this is freshly, well I say freshly, it's nice and dry now, so it's dry to touch. The first thing I'm going to do is just to cut off the end of the leader on each end, so I can get rid of that. That's okay, and now I cut the strip into 3s. And I use storage files for this, so I'll keep them nicely archived then. So there we go. Okay, so here's my negatives. So a quick scan across these. What I'm looking for is some nice good tones within the negative to choose my final images. Now looking at these straight away, there's quite a few here which look pretty good. So these are my first shots here. So this one looks quite promising. Also this one as well, and this one. So I think I'm going to choose those. And there's a couple of the other compositions that I took. Again, this one, possibly that one, although it's a little bit dark in the sky. So I've gone from capturing the image to processing and getting the final negative ready. The scanning process, which I will do in a different video at some stage, involves using my camera and a lightbox to produce a digital file, digital scan if you like, of the negative, and then goes through software, and then I end up with the final images, which I'll put up at the end of the video, see what you think. So yeah, it's I've got 2 films done, so I'm pretty chuffed with the results. It's a very simple process. Once you get used to it, it's kind of it becomes kind of second nature. I hope you've enjoyed what I've been doing. If you've got any questions, please put your comments below and questions. I'll hopefully answer stuff that you need to know. But for now, I'm going to leave the video here. I'll pop these images up now. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.